Is the Philippines the Atlantis of the Pacific? Exploring San Juan's mysterious lost island. One of the most interesting mysteries of our country's geographic history is a vanished island off the northeastern edge of Mindanao. Known as the island of San Juan, St. John, it was portrayed in old maps, larger than Bohol, maybe as big as Panay, completely separated from the vast Mindanao peninsula. San Juan appeared on more than a dozen maps from the 16th to the early 18th centuries. Through a 1537 portolan chart created by cartographer Gaspar Vargas, it was known to the Portuguese as the island of San Joa. Abraham Ortelius, a Flemish cartographer, included Ilhas de S Johan in his book Asiae Nova Descriptio in 1570, identifying it as a Cebu town. It was resurrected as a single, independent island off the northeastern coast of Mindanao 5 years later, as seen in Antonio de Herrera y Tordesillas 1601 map, Historia General de los Hechos de los Castellanos and las Islas y Tierra Firme del Mar Oceano, printed in Madrid. Sir Robert Dudley, 1646, Delicano del Mare, Florence, Dutchman Jan Jansonius, 1656, and Vincenzo Coronelli all drew maps of the mysterious island over the course of 2 centuries, 1690. The island of San Juan was featured in 1750 by Jacques-Nicolas Belin, a French cartographer who created maps of the Philippines in the 18th century. A lithograph of the people of San Juan was included in Christopher Middleton's opus A New and Complete System of Geography, an approximately 1777 to 1780 series done on all the peoples of the globe, by a naval commander and cartographer. There were 24 plates in all, and the Philippines were represented by these San Juan locals, who were taller than the usual Oriental, black and curly-headed, and stood against a backdrop of palms and fruit trees. Despite the fact that the island of San Juan was well documented, it was not included in the famous 1734 map produced by Jesuit cartographer Murillo Velarde, the same map used to dispute the Chinese claim on Scarborough Shoal, nor did he mention it. The island of San Juan was totally removed from future Philippine maps. Herman Moll last saw it on an 18th century British map, and the friar chroniclers Buzita and Bravo last heard of it about the same period. This sparked a slew of theories, ranging from whimsical to unbelievable, to explain the island's mysterious absence. Federico Aguilar Alcuaz, an ancient map collector and artist, speculated in 1969 that it may have met the same fate as the lost Atlantis, being rocked by an earthquake or swallowed by the sea. E. Aguilar Cruz, a writer, disagreed, claiming that an island the size of San Juan could not have sunk without a rumbling that should have been recognized and recorded in history. Others argue that it was the Agusan River, which was drawn by ancient cartographers to divide Mindanao and San Juan. The river must have reconnected San Juan to Mindanao through time, causing mapmakers to recognize that San Juan was not an island, but rather a peninsula. But why is it that, despite the fact that the historical names of the other islands have survived, the name San Juan is entirely unknown in the Surigao area, which is roughly in modern-day Mindanao? What towns are there? What happened to them? In the second edition of his work Philippine Cartography, the famous Filipino historian Carlos Quirino argued that San Juan was merely a fictitious island originally drawn by Herrera in 1601, a mistake replicated by Sanson, Tyrion, Corneli, Hondius, Jansonius, Duval, Dudley, and others in their maps. In 1665, Antonio Puccini created a cartographic board game that solved the enigma of San Juan. The race to the finish game had squares into which tokens were slid in order to reach a final destination, Venice. One of the squares depicted the Philippines, with San Juan substituted with San Sio, San Sargao, accurately identifying the island, which is located on Mindanao's northeast coast. It's possible that Sargao was mistaken for San Joa. This information was not taken seriously since a board game seemed an unusual location to provide light on a geographic error, and the San Juan conundrum lingered for more than 2 centuries. Things only became evident once the more precise Jesuit maps were produced. The western Micronesian island groups of Palau and Sonserol, off the northeast tip of Mindanao, were put on these maps based on information from residents of Islas Carolinas, Caroline Islands.